Subscribe this channel for educational videos and also don't forget to press the bell icon in order to get the instant notifications of our latest stuff.
Hello and welcome to this online course on wireless communication. Our today's topic is interference in cellular systems. Interference is considered to be a major limiting factor in the performance of cellular radio systems, and there are certain reasons behind occurrence of interference in cellular systems. So it is a major limiting factor in the performance of radio cellular systems, as it limits the performance of our cellular systems, and there are certain reasons of interference occurrence. And we have number one reason as another mobile station in the same cell. That is, another mobile station is operating in the same cell, and that can cause interference to our desired mobile station. And other reason of interference is a call is in progress in a neighboring cell. Okay, and due to the call in progress in the neighboring cell, you can have interference occurrence, or you can have noise in the ongoing call in your desired mobile station. And the other reason for interference occurrence is any other base station operating in the same frequency band. Okay, these are the three main reasons for interference occurrence in the cellular systems. Number one is your another mobile station in the same cell is being operated, and number two is a call is in progress in the neighboring cell, and the third one is any other base stations operating in the same frequency band, and all these can cause the interference to your desired mobile station. Okay, and if this interference occurs to your voice channels, and then it can cause crosstalk. Okay, if interference occurs on voice channels, then it can cause noise, and that noise is called as crosstalk. Okay, this crosstalk kind of noise is in the background, and you cannot have effective conversation when you have interference on the voice channels. Okay, because of that there will occur crosstalk. And if this interference is on control channels, then there is a probability of missed and blocked calls. Okay, when the interference occurs on the voice channels, in that case you will have noise in the background, and that is called as crosstalk. And if this interference occurs on the control channels, then you can have missed or blocked calls. Okay, then you will have increased probability of missed or blocked calls. And this interference, it occurs more in urban areas, whereas it is less in the your rural areas. In urban areas, it is recognized as the major bottleneck in increasing the capacity, and is often responsible for the dropped calls. Okay, in urban areas, it is considered to be as bottleneck to increase the capacity of cellular system. Okay, in urban areas, as we have so many users, and they are communicating simultaneously, and because of that these can be the reasons while they are communicating, and it becomes a bottleneck to increase the capacity of a cellular system. So this interference needs to be addressed very effectively in order to increase the capacity in the cellular systems. We have two major types of interferences in cellular systems. Number one is co-channel interference, and other one is adjacent channel interference. Let's examine these two kinds of interference types one by one. First, we will take this co-channel interference. Co-channel interference is defined as the interference which occurs between signals from cells that use the same set of frequencies over a given coverage area. Okay, so this type of interference occurs between the signals from cells that use same set of frequencies over a given coverage area. Okay, when we are using same set of frequencies in a given coverage area, and simultaneously if that frequencies are being used by the signals, and then there are chances of occurrence of interference, and that kind of interference is called as the co-channel interference. Basically, this co-channel interference occurs because of the co-channel cells. And what are co-channel cells? Co-channel cells are the cells which use same set of frequencies. Okay, and unlike thermal noise, which can be overcome by increasing signal to noise ratio, this co-channel interference cannot be combated, or it cannot be decreased by simply increasing the carrier power of the transmitter. Okay, and the reason behind this is because increase in the carrier transmit power will increase the interference to the neighboring cell. Okay, unlike thermal noise, which can be overcome by increasing signal to noise ratio, this co-channel interference cannot be combated by simply increasing carrier power of transmitter. Okay, and this is because increase in carrier power of transmitter will increase interference in the neighboring cells. Okay, unlike thermal noise, we cannot decrease, or we cannot combat this co-channel interference by just increasing signal to noise ratio. The reason behind this is because when we increase the carrier power, there will be an increase in the interference in the neighboring cell. Okay, so we cannot reduce this like the thermal noise. Okay, and if we want to reduce the co-channel interference, the co-channel cells must be physically separated by a distance to provide sufficient isolation. If we want to reduce co-channel interference, then the co-channel cells must be physically separated by a distance to provide sufficient isolation. If we want to combat this co-channel interference, then we have to provide sufficient isolation, physical distance between the co-channel cells. And if each cell is of approximately of same size, and base stations are transmitting the same power, then the co-channel interference ratio, that is d by r, is independent of the transmitted power, and it becomes a function of cell radius and also the distance between the centers of co-channel cells. If each cell is approximately of same size and all the base stations are transmitting same power, then the co-channel interference ratio is independent of the transmitted power, and it becomes a function of cell radius, that is r, and the distance between centers of co-channel cells, that is denoted by d. And also, by increasing the ratio d by r, the spatial separation between co-channel cells relative to the coverage of cell is increased. The interference is reduced due to the improved isolation of radio frequency energy. Okay, when we increase d by r ratio, if we increase this d by r ratio, then in that case we provide more isolation between the two co-channel cells, and ultimately you have an isolation between the RF energy. So because of that, you can reduce your interference is reduced. Okay, and for co-channel interference reduction, we have to increase this d by r ratio. Otherwise, by just increasing signal to noise ratio, we cannot decrease this co-channel interference ratio like thermal noise. Okay, and now we will see what is this co-channel reuse ratio. Okay, it is denoted by q, and this q is equal to d by r, and further we can say that this d by r equals to square root of 3n, and here this n is your cluster size, and this holds for your hexagonal cell shape in the cellular system. And if we have small value of this q, if this value of q is reduced, then we can have automatically this value of n small. And because of small value of n, which means that we have a small cluster, and if we have small cluster, then we require more number of cells to cover the same geographic area. And when we have more number of cells to cover the same geographic area, we will have more number of channels, and because of that we will have improved cellular capacity or user capacity. Okay, now we will see signal to interference ratio in detail. Okay, let us suppose I naught be the number of co-channel interfering cells. I naught be the number of co-channel interfering cells. Then signal to interference ratio S upon I, or SIR. This is signal to interference ratio, or SIR. It will be given as S, that is the signal power, and it is divided by summation I equals to 0 to I naught, that is the total number of interfering cells, into I. Okay, and here this S is your desired signal power, and I is the interference power caused by ith interfering co-channel cell. Interference power caused by ith interfering cell. So signal to interference ratio, it is given as S upon summation I equal to 0 to I naught I, and here S is the desired signal power, and I is the interfering power caused by the ith interfering cell. Okay, and now the average received power, the average received power PR at a distance d, at a distance d from the transmitting antenna, or the from the base station, from the transmitting antenna, is approximated by the following equation: PR equals to P naught into d upon d naught raised to power minus n, and we will number it as equation number 1. Fine. This received power equal to P naught into d upon d naught raised to power minus n, and here this P naught is the power received at close in reference point at a small distance d naught. Here this P naught is the power received at close in reference point at a small distance d naught from transmitting antenna, and n is here the path loss exponent. And we know that this n varies with the different topologies or different terrains in the network area, and this n can have values like 2, 4, 6 depending on the terrain in the network. For We can use this 2 for free space propagation model, and this 4 is relatively used for the lossy environments, and whereas this 4 to 6 we can use this for buildings and stadiums and other indoor environments. Okay, further, as we see that this equation number 1, this is in milliwatt, this power is in milliwatt, so we can convert this milliwatt power into decibels. So we can rewrite this equation as PR in terms of dBm, that is decibel per milliwatt, equals to P naught, it is again in dBm, minus 10 n log with base 10 to this d by d naught. We can rewrite this equation number 1 as this. Fine. And now if di is the distance of ith interferer from mobile, if di is the distance of ith interferer from mobile station, then power at the mobile due to ith interfering cell will be inversely proportional to di raised to power minus n. Okay, and here n is your path loss exponent. And when the transmitting power of each base station is equal and n is same throughout the coverage area, then we can convert the equation 1 by substituting certain values, if we substitute this s equal to p naught and which is equal to signal measured at the outer edge of the cell, and d naught equals to distance to where s is measured. D naught equals to distance to where s is measured, that is equal to r, which is the cell radius, because we measure this signal power at the boundary of the cell, so it will be equal to r. And ii equals to pr equals to power of interference from the ith cell, power of interference from the ith cell, and d equals to distance to ith cell, distance to ith cell, and that is denoted as di. Okay, and then we can rewrite the equation number 1 as we have seen in the previous page as s upon I, that is signal to interference ratio, is equal to r raised to power minus n divided by summation I equals to 1 to I naught, that means I naught is the total number of interferers, into di raised to power minus n. Okay, and we can label it as equation number 2. Fine. Signal to interference ratio after substituting these values in the equation 1 will become as r raised to power minus n, n is your path loss exponent, divided by summation I equals to 1 to I naught. I naught is the total number of interferers, and summation of all di's, that is distance from the all the interferers, that is raised to power to this exponent, path loss exponent, that is n. Okay, and now when we consider only first layer of the interfering cell, that is the first tier in a cluster of cells, if all the interfering base stations are at equidistant from the desired base station, and now we have to consider only first layer of interfering cell. If all the interfering base stations are equidistant from the desired base station, then signal to interference ratio will be equals to d by r raised to power n divided by I naught, that is total number of interfering cells, and we can further write it as square root of 3n raised to power n divided by total number of interferers, and this is because this d by r, that is co-channel reuse ratio, equals to square root of 3n, and we can label this equation as equation number 3. Okay, and here from this equation, and here d is the distance between cell centers, that is the co-channel cells, and the r is the cell radius. Okay, and now a few things that students should remember, that for a cluster size of 7, when we have n equals to 7, in that case it requires signal to interference ratio of 18 dB. We have cluster size 7, then for effective communication, this signal to interference ratio in a particular cellular system, it should be 18 dB if we have if we use cluster size as 7. And there are certain cluster sizes and corresponding co-channel reuse ratios of those they should remember by the student. And for example, if you have n equals to 3, then you can have q equals to 3. Q is your co-channel reuse ratio, and this you can calculate with the formula that if d by r equals to square root of 3, and you can calculate from this formula for a cluster size of 3, you will have this q which is equal to 3, which is your co-channel reuse ratio. For 7, you will have this co-channel reuse ratio 4.58, and for cluster size of 9, you will have this q as 5.20, and for a cluster size of 12, you will have 6 as your d by r ratio. So you can remember these things, because you have to use these things in solving certain problems, or you can calculate all these values, that is your co-channel reuse ratio, by using this formula. Okay, and now we will solve a problem on co-channel interference, and let me write the problem that we have to solve. Okay, here we have a problem that is related to co-channel interference. I will read out this problem. If a signal to interference ratio of 15 dB is required for satisfactory forward channel performance of a cellular system, for a particular cellular system, the signal to interference ratio required is 15 dB for effective conversation or effective performance over the forward channel, and what is the frequency, reuse factor, and cluster size. Okay, we have to find out frequency, reuse factor, that is Q, or you can say D by R ratio, and cluster size, which is N, that should be used for maximum capacity. We have to find out the cluster size so that we can get the maximum capacity when we require 15 dB of the signal to interference ratio for a particular cellular system, and we are given with the path loss exponents as 4 and 3. Okay, so further it says that assume that there are 6 co-channel cells in the first tier. That means we are using a 7 cell cluster. It is an assumption in order to solve this question, and all of them are at a same distance, which means that all the interferers are at a same distance. So we have to find out the cluster size and frequency reuse factor. So let's solve this question now. First, we will take part A, where we are given as for n equals to 4, which is path loss exponent equal to 4. And here, let us consider 7 cell reuse pattern. Okay, first we take the cluster size as 7. We, instead of finding the cluster size, we first will substitute this cluster size as 7 in order to solve this question. Then we can find the co-channel reuse ratio, which is denoted by D by R, and it is equal to square root of 3n, and we find out it as 4.583. Okay, and then from this we can find out signal to interference ratio. Then S upon I will be equals to 1 upon I naught, that is total number of interferers, into D upon R raised to power n. Fine, and we will substitute the values, which is equal to 1 upon 6, because we have total 6 interferers in case of a 7 cell reuse pattern, and which is multiplied by this. We have already calculated this D by R, and it is equal to 4.583 raised to power n is 4. That is for the first part, and this will come out as S upon I equals to 75.3, and this is in terms of milliwatt. Okay, and we have to convert it into decibels, which is equal to 10 log with base 10, and this 75.3, and this is in decibels. Okay, and it will come out as 18.66 dB approximately. So we got S upon I as 18.66 dB by substituting the cluster size as 7, and for the satisfactory performance, we know that for this particular question, or for this particular cellular system, we require signal to interference ratio as 15 dB, and for substituting n as 7, we get signal to interference ratio as 18.66, and it is more than this 15 dB. So this case is accepted, and here we have cluster size. We can say that we have cluster size n equal to 7, and it is acceptable, and this is the answer of your first part. Okay, and now let's see another part, that is B part, where we are given this n equals to 3. Okay, and again let us consider 7 cell reuse pattern, and again we can find out s upon I equals to 1 upon 6 with us by substituting the values in the same equation into 4.583, but instead of 4 here we will raise the power to 3 because the path loss exponent here is 3. Okay, and this will come out as 16.04, and this value is in milliwatt, and when we convert this s upon I ratio into dB, then it will become as 12.05 dB. Okay, and we see that this value 12.05, that is signal to interference ratio, this comes out as lesser than the given value, which is 15 dB for a satisfactory performance in a cellular system. So the cell size that we had considered as the cluster size that we had considered as 7 cell, so this cannot be useful in this particular case, so it will be rejected, and we need to use large n size. We need to use large n size, that is we need to use large cluster size. And now for cluster size n equals to 12, we will try this, and we will see whether the signal to interference ratio comes more than 15 dB, then this cluster size can be accepted for this particular system. So corresponding d by r ratio will become 6. Okay, by using this equation square root 3n, and when we put n as 12, then the value will come out as 6. So here d by r ratio is 6, and therefore we can find out signal to interference ratio by using the same equation and by substituting the values in that equation. 1 by 6 into 6 raised to power 3, and this will come out as 36 milliwatt, and when we convert this signal to interference ratio into dB, then it will come out as 15.56 dB. And yes, this value is more than 15 dB, and we can say that this is a accepted case. So n equals to 12 is accepted because we are getting signal to interference ratio in this case by substituting n equal to 12 as 15.56, and for a satisfactory performance we just require 15 dB as given in the question. So this case is accepted. So here in this case n equal to 12, and this is the answer of our second part. Okay, and this is all about the co-channel interference in the cellular system. And now we will see other type of interference, and which is called as the adjacent channel interference. It is defined as the interference resulting from signals which are adjacent in frequency to the desired signal is called as adjacent channel interference, ACI. Okay, and the nearby frequencies, they leak into the passband due to the imperfect receiver filters, and this happens when the nearby frequencies leak into the passband due to the imperfect filters. For example, in your device you have imperfect filters, and because of that reason the nearby frequencies, that is the frequencies of adjacent channels, they leak into the passband. Passband means the separation between the two adjacent channels, and when they leak into that particular area, particular passband, because of imperfection in the filters of your receiver, and then the kind of noise created called as adjacent channel interference. And because of this kind of interference, there is a phenomena called as near far effect occurs. Okay, now what is this near far effect? Near far effect can be defined as when the adjacent channel user is transmitting in very close range to subscriber receiver, while the receiver attempts to receive a base station on the desired channel. Okay, when the adjacent channel user is transmitting in very close range to subscriber receiver, while the receiver attempts to receive a base station on the desired channel. And in this case, a nearby transmitter captures the receiver of the subscriber. And here you see that when adjacent channel user is transmitting in very close range to the subscriber's receiver, while the receiver is attempting to receive the base station on the desired channel, and in the very close range of this desired channel, there is another interferer which is trying to transmit, and because of that, the nearby transmitter, that is the interferer which that captures the receiver of your desired subscriber, and this effect is called as the near far effect. And further, in other words, near far effect occurs when a mobile close to a base station occurs when a mobile close to a base station transmits on a channel close to one being used by a weak mobile. And here this weak mobile is your desired mobile station, and this near far effect occurs when a mobile close to a base station, the interferer is closer to the base station, and that interferer transmits on a channel which is very close to the one that is used by the desired mobile. And because of that, the noise occurs, and this noise is called as the adjacent channel interference. And because of that, this effect is called as the your near far effect. And this adjacent channel interference, this can be minimized by keeping frequency separation between each channel in a given cell as large as possible. So this can be reduced. This ACI, it can be reduced by putting sufficient separation between the frequencies as large as possible. Okay, we have to keep frequency separation between each channel in a given cell as large as possible. Okay, and when we keep the sufficient separation between the each channel in a given cell as large as possible, then we can reduce this ACI, that is your adjacent channel interference. Okay, and now if a mobile is 20 times as close to the base station as another mobile and has energy spill out of its passband, then you have signal to interference ratio equal to 20 raised to power minus n. Okay, if a mobile station is 20 times as close to the base station as another mobile and has energy spill out of its passband, then signal to interference ratio at weak mobile weak mobile station at base station will be equals to 20 raised to power minus n. For example, we have a mobile station, and that is considered as weak, which means that which is 20 times far with respect to another mobile station which is in the closer vicinity of base station. And if the weaker mobile is 20 times far away from the base station, then signal to interference ratio corresponding to weak mobile station at base station equals to 20 raised to power minus n. This is all about this adjacent channel interference, and with this I conclude this lecture that is on interference in cellular system. Thank you for watching.